We're here at IDEX 2019 and I'm speaking with Tom Yeoman, Senior Vice President, Client Services, Mobile Land Systems. Tom, Mobile Land Systems are showing 4 different vehicles at the show this year, starting with the smallest one. Could you talk us through them?
Sure. The smallest one we make is the Cummins. It is an APC that holds 10 people based on a Toyota TLC 79 platform. This vehicle was custom designed for one of our clients, and the requirement was to have something that was very narrow to be able to get down side streets. So this vehicle's mirror to mirror is less than 2 meters wide, still carries 10 people so that you can move troops around, or if you need to move police department around very easily.
And so you developed that vehicle specifically for a user requirement then?
Yes, we did. A lot of the work we do is bespoke, which is one of the strengths of our company. If we have a client that gives us a very specific set of requirements, we build to that requirement, we develop it, we test it with the client so that we're sure they're fully satisfied with the vehicle.
And is it at production stage yet, or is it still developmental?
It's still developmental. The client has seen it, but it hasn't gone into production until we get full sign-off from the client that they're happy with all the requirements have been met.
And then if we can move along, the Caprivi, what perhaps most would refer to as an MRAP, is a vehicle that has been seen previously, quite well established. Could you bring us up to speed with that?
Sure. The Caprivi is a traditional MRAP that is in production and is being operated in clients in the Middle East and Africa region. It can carry 8 soldiers in the back, 2 in the front, for a total of 10 comfortably, with full MRAP protection against landmines.
And that particular vehicle, I understand there are 2 or 3 different variants with different driveline options. Could you talk us through any of those?
Sure. When we build a vehicle and we design a vehicle, we design it against a client-specific set of requirements. So if that client has a requirement where we use a particular brand engine or a particular brand transmission that's readily available in their market, we develop the product around that so that spare parts and the maintenance process is much easier. That's probably one of the most important parts of designing a vehicle for a client, is not the sale part, but it's the maintenance and the after sales part to keep the vehicles in full operating condition so that in whatever theater of operations they're in, they have 100% fleet availability.
And moving on to the Cobra, is there anything you can tell us about that?
Yeah, the Cobra is one of our vehicles that we've designed on an OEM Ford F550 chassis. We've chosen the F550 because it's a very common chassis in the region. Spare parts are readily available. Technicians are available to do any kind of maintenance and repairs. That vehicle is a family of vehicles, and the one we have on display here is what we call the double cabin. So it seats 4 soldiers and can carry a payload in the back. It's also available in an APC version with either 3 or 5 doors. Again, that can have 8 soldiers in the back, 2 in the front, and all 3 of the family of vehicles are capable of having a 1-ton turret on the top.
And before we move on to the vehicle that you're showing here for the very first time, on the wall to my left, that's an example of the Shield?
Yes, that's the MLS Shield. That is designed for typically Ministry of Interior operations or police operations where it needs to be in an urban environment. It's smaller than the Cobra, not much, but just a little bit, but it's small enough that it can get around the city streets and withstand any kind of attack, even from an apartment building shooting straight down. Other vehicles we also make we have a full line of VIP vehicles. So we do the Lexus LX570, we do the Toyota Land Cruiser VXR, and we're one of the few companies in the region that do the Cadillac Escalade. So we armor the Cadillac Escalade to either a B7 level or even a VR10, which protects against a Dragunov round.
And moving on to the vehicle to my immediate right, I believe you're showing that here for the very first time.
Yes, this vehicle is the Viper. This is the latest generation in technology for the MRAP. It comes with a CBRN, chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear filter, so that if you're in a situation where the enemy is using a chemical variant on you, you're protected in this vehicle. This vehicle is also designed to be modular. So by that, I mean the basic vehicle will stay the same. You can take the interior out of the rear, take the seats out, you can make it an ambulance, you can make it a command and control, you can put a radar mast in, all using the same base vehicle.
And the vehicle beside us, is that the prototype? Is that the only vehicle, or at what stage is it?
This vehicle, it's a prototype, and I would call it a pre-production vehicle more than a prototype. This particular vehicle has just finished the UAE summer trials, survived 100%, no breakdowns, which we're very proud of because that's a very difficult. It's 1 week long. 1,500 kilometers in the desert, in the mountains, on the highways, and this actual vehicle that we're standing next to is the one that was in the summer trials.
And in terms of technical specification, what sort of gross vehicle weight does it have? What sort of payload options does it have?
The gross vehicle weight depends a lot on the client requirement, what their level of protection is. The minimum payload we have on here is 2.5 tons. So that you have capability of full complement of soldiers. You can put a large turret on it. In addition, the vehicle comes standard with what we call a CTIS system, a through-axle CTIS system, so that for just the push of a button, the person who's driving the car or the commander can adjust the tire pressure depending on whatever terrain they're going on.
And in terms of automotives, one would assume it would have the regional favourite of maybe Cummins Allison.
Yes, this one's equipped with a Cummins 450 horsepower engine and the Allison 4000 series gearbox, which is what the main requirement is in the region. And again, the technicians are trained on it and the parts are readily available.
And when you're developing a vehicle, predominantly for this sort of region and the accompanying heat, sand and all that sort of thing, what sort of challenges do you normally encounter, and what sort of steps have you taken with, say, this vehicle in particular to meet those challenges?
The biggest enemy in this region of a vehicle is heat. Because of the ambient environment, it can get to 58 degrees in the desert. So how we work against that is we've had a custom cooling system designed for this vehicle. So this vehicle at 450 horsepower, we have a cooling system that you can run all day long up to 60 degrees centigrade and still maintain the proper cooling for the engine. The second part of cooling, which is a challenge, is not only the engine, but it's the crew. So you have people inside that you need to keep cool as well, because essentially you're making yourself an oven. You're making a steel box. So to do that, we have high density insulation on the inside of the vehicle that not only insulates against heat, but also insulates against sound. Then this one has 2 separate AC systems. So the driver and the commander have one AC system, and the crew in the back, which is up to 8 soldiers, have a second AC system so that you can adjust the temperatures based on the requirement.